Howdy. So, it's been a while since my last update. Oh, geez, probably a good 3 months. A bunch of reasons for that. One of the main reasons was we were busy trying to take care of property issues. A couple of the comments over the years have commented about permitting and all that. I'm going to make a comment if anyone's doing this type of stuff, pull permits. Because the local government uses satellite images to find buildings. We pulled permits for all of our structures that required them. My tool shed did not, the small building, but all the large buildings did. Small town government and record keeping isn't their strong point, so they accused us of not having permits for all of our buildings. For this building and my tool shed. Luckily we had kept the permits. So keep the permits when you get them, and we were able to refute their claim and get out of that. So always pull permits if you're in an area that requires them. These buildings were permitted as outbuildings. That's another thing that came back. They did a reassessment of the entire area this past year. We knew that was coming. We went to the meetings, and they came back and drastically raised our assessment, which we were kind of expecting. But they called this building a seasonal cabin, seasonal residence, which we refuted because it has no running water, which is required by code, and no septic, which is required by code for a residence. It's not on the power grid. They took our dispute and they reduced our assessment, but still called it a seasonal residence. We're not sure what we're going to do about that yet. Right now, we're just kind of living with it. But that was, we spent a lot of time driving down because the meetings would be in the afternoon. I don't live down here, I live an hour away, so you have to drive down, come to the meeting, and then drive back, because I have to work the next day. So that was a fun series of events. Like I said, we're not sure what we're going to do. The property expansion, that's still kind of in the works. For the most part, right now it might not happen. The way it ended up working was the person the widow who owned the next property over decided she would put the property up for auction. It was a confusing auction in that they broke it up to parcels, and then you would bid on it on different combinations. So like there's 4 parcels and you would bid on 1 parcel, 2 parcel, 3 parcel, 4 parcel, and then combinations. So 1 and 3, 1 and 2, 1 and 4. You ended up bidding against yourself a lot. There was one other party that was interested, and we kind of thought we had an agreement with them about what we were going to end up doing, because they said they didn't want the land, they wanted the buildings, a cabin in the barn, and we wanted the land. So in the end, we didn't win the auction. We're bidding up to $150,000 or $140,000 for the entire spread. But we got out of it after that because we didn't want to jack the price up, which would just jack up our portion of the land. So far they've been less than agreeable on splitting it back up, so we'll see how that works out. They've already said that we can hunt on the property. They're totally cool with that. So the worst case scenario is we are where we are and we have hunting rights to the next property over, which we never really had before. 10 years ago we did, but then when the last owner had it, we lost hunting rights. So we're no worse off than we were. Hopefully hopefully it'll work out and we'll get the extra land. It'll be about an extra 50 acres if it works out, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. We're not going anywhere. When they get ready to sell again, we'll probably be right there looking to buy the land. We'll see how that works out. Those, the assessment, the permits, and the land, that took up a ton of time. A lot of trips back and forth, a lot of meeting with people, a lot of stuff I really would rather not have to do. Didn't spend a lot of time doing work because of that stuff. and that's what I've been doing. Beyond that, on the property itself, the after maple syrup this past year, we ran through a good portion of our one big wood pile. It was down to probably about one 8-foot by 4-foot section, or 10-foot by 4-foot section. So we've been dropping the standing dead trees like mad. I'll walk back afterwards and show you what our wood pile ended up being. I didn't do videos of that. I've done videos in the past of our wood, dropping trees, the axes that we use. I didn't see a purpose in videotaping more chores, really. So, it was kind of a lack of content too. I mean, I really don't think you need to see me videotaping myself doing chores. If you do want to see me do my chores, let me know and I'll set the camera up. We've been doing a lot of work on the guest cabin, but it's been minor stuff. And I'll walk back and I'll give you a tour of where we are on that. We spent a lot of time. My father let me borrow his planer, and I've had it for about a month and a half down here. We put a second floor on the guest cabin and planed those boards down. We've never had a planer out here, so we had put off doing it last year because of having no planer. We planed those boards down, put it down, and put 4 coats of poly down, and then put a trap door up there. One of my concerns up there was the window on the second floor is small. It's too small for someone to fit out of. If there was ever a fire, you couldn't get out that window. So I put a trap door that gets into the back bedroom right where the window is. You could bust a window out and get out if there was a fire in the building. All my other buildings have fire exits, because of that. Not my barn, but really you don't go up in the barn loft. We are going to put a window in the upstairs barn, mostly for heat because it gets really hot up there. And for hunting reasons. You can put a chair up there and keep an eye out on one of the overlooks into a valley area. But that wasn't really a fire reason to do it. On the guest cabin, there was a fire reason. If there was a fire, the stove is next to the door, which would be your first mode of egress would be out that front. And if you couldn't get out the window, then you're hosed. So with the trap door, you can get to the back bedroom and then out the door, or out the window, which is right there. So we've been working on that. I'll take you back there in a couple minutes. One of the requests I've gotten in emails and on Facebook was, people who haven't watched the videos since the beginning haven't seen the whole cabin. I don't do a lot of stuff inside the cabin. The cabin is basically, it's not done. It's never going to be done. But it is done. I mean, we use it, and there's not a lot of updates going on the inside. So I have to do the trim still. That's been on my to-do list for years. We just started working on I planed some boards on 2 sides for a shelf for the cubbies, which I had planned on doing when I built the place, and I haven't got around to. So I just finally, because I have the planer now, planed the boards for the shelves. I'm going to bring those back to the city. I have a Craig jig for doing the crisscross screws, so I can make nice wide shelves for in there, and I'll do those this week, get them stained, and back out here next weekend. Another thing, I was busy. I had business trips. I just got back from Vegas, which was hot. Anyone who lives out there, it's something. They had that big, I think it was called Carpenter Hill or Carpenter Canyon fire. I'm a firefighter now. We deal with single structure fires. That was 28,000 acres and 700 firefighters working on it. That's just on a scale that's unbelievable. And down in Vegas Valley, the smoke would actually pour in the evening. And I've been running a lot, trying to keep my weight and all that in check. And I'd run in the morning out there, about 6 o'clock in the morning, and you could smell the smoke in the valley. It was something. I went to Red Rock Canyon, or Valley, or whatever Red Rock, and 2 days before I went, the fire was actually cresting on the hills above it. The wind shifted and took it a different direction. That was just a massive fire. I don't know how they can, I know it's what they do, but it's a massive scale. So I was at that. I have another trip coming up, personal trip. This one is going to take me out of commission for a couple weekends. Like August is kind of also shot. But I took the entire month of August off for work, so I should be able to get down here a lot once I get back from my trip and get some the long-standing stuff, like maybe get the trim work done, or at least the first floor done. Actually get the first floor done. We always have a big party Labor Day weekend. It'd be nice to have the first floor trim all nice and clean. Yeah, because of people have been asking, I will do a tour of the cabin and show you around. I also mentioned things that after being in here for 5 years, I would have done differently, a couple things, and minor issues we've been having or have, and yeah, I'll give you a tour of the guest cabin as well, seeing as that's kind of winding down as a project. So let's go for a tour.